You can be on purpose and still be early. And if you confuse those two realities, you may abandon the very preparation your future requires. Discovering your assignment does not mean you are immediately ready to carry its full weight. You may possess the vision and still need wisdom. You may recognize the direction and still need discipline. You may have the gift and still need experience. You may know where you belong and still lack the trust, opportunity, or capacity required to function there effectively. Write this principle down. Purpose may be revealed in a moment, but readiness is constructed through repeated decisions. Many people become frustrated because they believe discovery should produce immediate visibility. They assume that if the assignment is genuine, the platform should appear, authority should be granted, and reward should follow. But recognition is not proof of purpose, and obscurity is not proof that purpose is absent. A seed does not become false because it has not yet produced fruit. It may simply be early. Your frustration often increases when you study another person's visible results while ignoring your own unfinished development. You see their opportunity, but not the habits that prepared them. You see their influence, but not the years that built their judgment. You compare their harvest with your planting and then accuse yourself of being behind. Comparison is dangerous because it moves your attention from development to evaluation. You stop asking, "What must I strengthen?" and begin asking, "Why am I not where they are?" One question builds capacity, the other feeds insecurity. Being early does not mean you are inferior. It does not mean you have been forgotten. It does not automatically mean you misunderstood the assignment. It means the responsibility of this season may be different from the result you desire. There are 5 stages we must examine: clarification, formation, practice, stewardship, and placement. These are not rigid boxes, and life does not always move through them in a perfect line. They are a diagnostic map. They help you identify what your present season is demanding from you. So stop asking only when will it happen. Ask the more responsible question: what does this season require from me? That question turns frustration into instruction. It gives you relief, but it does not permit passivity. It frees you from comparison and returns you to responsibility. Now we must establish the law that governs every stage. Discovering an assignment and developing the capacity to sustain it are not the same thing. An assignment is the contribution you believe you are meant to make, the problem you feel responsible to address, or the work you sense you should pursue. Capacity is different. Capacity is the character, skill, discipline, judgment, and endurance required to perform that assignment without being destroyed by its weight. Consider a building. The blueprint reveals what the architect intends to construct, but the foundation determines what can safely stand. A beautiful design resting on a weak foundation is not an achievement. It is a future collapse. Your vision is the blueprint. Your capacity is the foundation. Write this principle down. Desire can announce direction, but discipline develops carrying power. Wanting an assignment does not prepare you for it. Talking about it does not prepare you for it. Even praying about it does not remove your responsibility to develop. Prayer must strengthen your obedience, not replace it. This is why an opportunity can become dangerous when it arrives before preparation. Visibility does not create character. It exposes character. Authority does not manufacture judgment. It reveals whether judgment has been developed. Pressure brings hidden weaknesses into public view. The habits you excused in private may become the failures you cannot conceal in public. So never despise the ordinary day. Every ordinary day is a construction day. When you manage your time, you are building. When you govern your thoughts, you are building. When you control your reaction instead of surrendering to emotion, you are building. When you study, practice, keep your word, and finish what you begin, you are building evidence that you can be trusted. Faith is essential, but faith is not inactivity. Trust allows you to move when the entire road is not visible. It does not give you permission to refuse preparation. Trust God, but study. Trust God, but plan. Trust God, but practice. Trust God, but correct the weakness that honest feedback has revealed. And we must remain truthful. No framework can explain every closed door. Some delays reveal immaturity. Some result from conditions outside your control. Some remain unexplained. Do not pretend to know what you cannot know. Instead, take responsibility for what is in your hands. Here is the diagnostic rule we will use. Identify the responsibility of the season, look for evidence of progress, and confront the temptation that could keep you there. Preparation is not a detour from purpose. Preparation is how purpose becomes sustainable service. Therefore, the first responsibility is not to seek a platform. It is to become clear enough about the assignment that your preparation has a direction. Clarification is the first stage. Clarification is the season in which you identify the contribution you are responsible to make, the problem you are prepared to address, the people you are equipped to serve, and the values that must govern your work. Notice that clarification is not the secondary to admiration. You can admire a gifted leader without sharing that leader's assignment. You can respect another person's expression without being called to reproduce it. Inspiration may awaken you, but imitation can distract you. Purpose does not ask, whom can I copy? Purpose asks, what am I responsible for? So conduct an honest inventory. What concerns return to your mind repeatedly? What abilities have proven useful to others? What experiences have shaped your understanding? What responsibilities are already in your hands? What opportunities are actually available now? And where are you still weak, uninformed, or undisciplined? Do not answer these questions with fantasy. Answer them with evidence. Then write one working sentence for your present assignment. Not a title, not a position, not a prediction about fame. Write a sentence about service. My present assignment is to use what I have learned and developed to help these people address this kind of problem. That sentence may change as you grow. It is a working statement, not a prison. Its purpose is to give your development a target. If you cannot name what you are preparing to contribute, you will collect information without direction, accept opportunities without discernment, and confuse movement with progress. Some people are waiting for the entire road to become visible before they take one step. But clarity often grows while you move. You reflect honestly, take the next responsible action, observe the result, and adjust. You do not need tomorrow's complete map to obey today's clear instruction. How do you know clarification is developing? Your choices become more coherent. Distractions become easier to identify. Your boundaries become stronger. Your learning becomes concentrated. You begin saying no without guilt because you understand what deserves your yes. But beware of comparison. Comparison makes you study another person's progress while neglecting your own responsibility. It turns development into competition and purpose into performance. And beware of endless searching. There comes a point when asking for more clarity becomes an excuse for avoiding courage. If you already know enough to serve someone, improve something, or test a responsible direction, then movement is now part of clarification. Write this principle down. Clarity is sufficient when it tells you what to develop and whom to begin serving, even if it does not reveal your final position. Once direction becomes clear, the question must change. You stop asking only, what am I called to do? And begin asking, what kind of person must I become to carry it? Formation is the second stage. Formation is the season in which the person is developed before the assignment is enlarged. It is where you stop admiring the future and begin arranging your present life to support it. Your dominant responsibility in formation is self-government. You must organize your habits so they cooperate with your purpose instead of quietly opposing it. A great assignment carried by an undisciplined person becomes a source of frustration. The problem is not always the absence of opportunity. Sometimes the problem is the condition of the person who wants it. There are 5 capacities you must develop. First, govern your time. If your days have no direction, your years will not accidentally produce purpose. Second, renew your thinking. You cannot build a new future while protecting beliefs that keep reproducing your old behavior. Third, control your reactions. A person who cannot manage anger, fear, offense, or disappointment may damage in one moment what required years to build. Fourth, strengthen relevant knowledge. Good intentions cannot substitute for understanding. Study the work, learn the principles, correct your ignorance. Fifth, choose associations that reinforce responsibility. The voices closest to you help normalize either discipline or distraction. Treat people with dignity, but do not give every influence equal access to your mind. Now write this down. Repeated actions become evidence of identity. Every commitment you keep builds reliability. Every reaction you correct builds maturity. Every day of focused learning builds competence. You are not merely completing habits. You are becoming the kind of person those habits produce. Remember the building. No one celebrates the foundation as much as the finished structure, but the invisible depth determines the visible height. Hidden construction is not inferior progress. It is protective progress. How do you know formation is working? You remain consistent after excitement disappears. You recover more quickly after failure. You accept correction without turning every observation into an insult. You make better decisions under pressure. You require less applause to continue doing what is right. But formation has two opposite temptations. The first is premature visibility, wanting to be seen doing what you have not learned to sustain. You want the microphone before you have mastered the message. You want influence before you have governed yourself. The second temptation is permanent hiding. You continue calling yourself unprepared because real service might expose what still needs work. That is not humility. It may be fear wearing respectable clothing. Formation does not require perfection. It requires measurable development, honest correction, and increasing self-government. Do not ask whether everyone can see your growth. Ask whether your conduct provides evidence of it. Formation gives you capacity in principle, but untested capacity is still an assumption. What you believe you can carry must now be examined through repeated action. Therefore, the next season is practice. Practice is the third stage. Practice is purposeful repetition under real conditions, where mistakes become instruction rather than identity. Formation develops capacity within you. Practice demonstrates whether that capacity can produce a dependable result. Write this principle down. Potential describes what may be possible, but competence provides evidence of what you can deliver consistently. Potential is attractive because it lives in the imagination. Competence is demanding because it must survive contact with reality. You may believe you can teach, lead, build, organize, write, or solve a problem. Practice asks you to prove it not for applause, but for development. Create a small laboratory for your assignment. Volunteer where your ability can serve. Build a simple prototype. Assist someone with experience. Teach a limited group. Rehearse the presentation. Write the first pages. Organize the small event. Solve one real problem for one real person. Do not wait for the grand opportunity to begin the necessary repetition. The small room can train you for the large room, but only if you take the small room seriously. Here is the practice cycle. Attempt the work, observe the result, request specific feedback, correct one weakness, and repeat. Then repeat again. But repetition alone is not enough. Repetition must have a target. If your communication is unclear, practice clarity. If your judgment is weak, review your decisions. If your execution is inconsistent, improve the process. If people cannot depend on the result, strengthen reliability. Mindless repetition can preserve a mistake. Deliberate repetition corrects it. How do you recognize progress? You make fewer repeated errors. The quality of your work rises. You remain composed when something goes wrong. You recover more quickly. Your judgment becomes clearer. Most importantly, your ability becomes increasingly useful to other people. The temptation in this stage is image protection. You want people to recognize your talent, but you avoid the repetition that might expose your weakness. You want to look competent before becoming competent, but anything you refuse to examine, you also refuse to improve. Do not become discouraged because progress appears slow. Disciplined days accumulate. A person may seem to emerge suddenly in public, while the real construction occurred through years of private correction, quiet service, and repeated effort. Visible excellence is often the final announcement of invisible consistency. Yet there is another danger: endless rehearsal. Practice is not complete merely because you are busy improving. At some point, the work must leave your private space and create value for someone else. Competence matures through service. So begin small, but begin honestly. Practice with purpose. Invite correction. Measure improvement. Repeat until your aspiration becomes demonstrable ability. And when your ability begins creating value, life asks a deeper question. Can you be trusted with what is already in your hands? Stewardship is the fourth stage. Stewardship means managing what has already been entrusted to you instead of neglecting it while requesting something larger. This is where purpose becomes practical. You may have a vision that reaches thousands, but your present responsibility may involve 10 people. You may desire greater resources, yet your current assignment is to manage a limited budget. You may believe you can lead an organization, while life is presently examining whether you can manage your own schedule. Do not confuse small scale with small significance. The dominant responsibility of stewardship is to carry the present assignment with diligence, integrity, and service. Arrive prepared. Keep your agreements. Manage your time. Complete the work. Tell the truth. Correct mistakes quickly. Maintain your standard when no one is supervising you. These actions may appear ordinary, but credibility is constructed from ordinary actions repeated consistently. Write down this distinction. Responsibility identifies what belongs in your hands. Diligence determines how well you carry it. Responsibility says, "This is mine to manage." Diligence says, "I will manage it with care." Responsibility accepts the weight. Diligence supplies the sustained effort. When these two work together, other people no longer have to wonder whether you will follow through. But diligence must be protected by integrity. Integrity aligns your private conduct, your public claims, and your actual decisions. Without integrity, competence may produce impressive results for a time, but those results will rest on an unstable foundation. Skill can attract opportunity. Character determines whether trust survives. How do you recognize progress in stewardship? People can depend on you. Your work requires less supervision. Others recommend you because your conduct has given them evidence. Responsibilities begin to expand. The people affected by your work are strengthened rather than merely impressed. The temptation in this stage is contempt for small responsibility. You neglect the assignment because it has no title, no audience, no prestige, and no immediate reward. You keep praying for more while mishandling what is already present. But increased scale does not cure poor management. It multiplies its consequences. You must also surrender the illusion of control. Stewardship gives you authority over your effort, your preparation, your integrity, and your response. It does not give you authority over every invitation, every decision made by others, or every timetable. You are responsible for faithful execution, not total control. So ask yourself, what is already in my hands? Am I managing it in a way that builds trust? Does my present conduct support the future I keep requesting? Remember this principle. What you refuse to manage at a small scale will not become easier simply because the scale grows. When competence and credibility meet an appropriate need and opportunity, responsibility changes. That change marks the beginning of placement. Placement is the fifth stage. Placement occurs when developed capacity, demonstrated trust, a genuine need, and access to responsibility converge. Notice what placement is not. Placement is not merely being noticed. It is not receiving a title. It is not becoming famous. Placement means that what has been developed in you is now being connected to work that requires it. That connection may appear as employment, leadership, an invitation, a new venture, a responsibility in your community, or an enlarged role where you already serve. Sometimes the new season changes your location. Sometimes it changes only the weight you carry in the same location. Write this principle down. Placement is recognized by increased responsibility, not merely increased attention. Your dominant responsibility in this stage is to serve at the new level without abandoning the disciplines that made the opportunity sustainable. Do not stop studying because you were selected. Do not stop planning because people now trust you. Do not relax your integrity because your influence has increased. Greater influence requires greater judgment. Greater responsibility requires stronger boundaries. Greater demand requires disciplined rest. Greater visibility requires deeper integrity. And every new level requires continued learning because yesterday's capacity may not be sufficient for tomorrow's weight. How do you know placement is genuine? The work addresses a real need. Other people entrust meaningful responsibility to you. Your previous preparation becomes useful. Your service expands beyond your own advancement. You are not simply being seen. Something valuable is being carried. But the temptation of placement is confusing visibility with purpose. An audience can grow while usefulness declines. A title can improve while integrity weakens. A platform can expand while the assignment becomes distorted. Visibility tells you how many people can see you. Purpose asks what they receive because you are there. There is another danger, entitlement. You may believe that because you prepared, a particular person must choose you, a particular organization must promote you, or God must deliver your preferred platform on your preferred timetable. Preparation makes you more capable. It does not make the world indebted to you. Receive opportunity with gratitude, not arrogance. Enter responsibility with humility, not self-congratulation. Placement is not a throne upon which you rest. It is a new field in which you serve. Every enlarged assignment introduces new questions. It exposes limitations that the previous level could not reveal. It sends you back to clarification, formation, and practice with greater urgency. Placement is not the end of development. It is development under new weight. So measure placement by responsibility, usefulness, and service, not glamour. And because these stages can overlap, repeat, and deepen throughout life, you now need a reliable way to determine whether progress is actually occurring. How do you know you are advancing? Not merely because you feel ready, not because you are tired of waiting, not because someone else has moved ahead. Progress must be examined by evidence. There are 4 signs of advancement: competence, service, trust, and changing responsibility. First, competence. Competence is the growing ability to produce sound results consistently. It is more than information, confidence, or good intentions. You may know the language of an assignment and still lack the ability to perform it. Competence is proven when your work becomes clearer, stronger, more accurate, and more dependable. Second, service. Purpose becomes mature when value reaches another person. Are you solving, strengthening, building, guiding, organizing, or contributing? If your development produces only self-admiration, it has not yet completed its journey. Purpose must eventually leave your mind and enter somebody's life. Third, trust. Trust is credibility accumulated over time through integrity, reliability, teachability, and responsible conduct. People trust you when your pattern gives them evidence. You keep your word. You receive correction. You finish what you accept. You become dependable without constant supervision. Fourth, changing responsibility. Advancement often appears as an increase or deepening in what you must carry. The title may remain unchanged. The audience may not grow, but the decisions become more consequential, the problems more complex, and the people more dependent on your judgment. Now apply these signs to the 5 stages. Clarification concentrates your direction. Formation strengthens your character and habits. Practice improves your performance. Stewardship builds credibility. Placement enlarges your responsibility. Each stage should produce evidence appropriate to its purpose. Write this principle down. Feelings may accompany growth, but feelings cannot certify growth. Impatience proves that you want change. It does not prove that you are prepared for it. So diagnose your season with 4 questions. What responsibility dominates my life now? What evidence shows I am handling it well? What does honest feedback from trustworthy people confirm? What temptation repeatedly interferes with my progress? Do not force yourself into one perfect category. These stages can overlap. You may be professionally placed while still developing emotional maturity. You may possess excellent skill while remaining unclear about your next contribution. You may be trusted with people but still need stronger boundaries and better time management. Mature progress is directional, not theatrical. You are advancing when you are becoming more capable, more useful, more trustworthy, and more responsible. That is a scorecard you can use repeatedly, even when recognition is absent. But this scorecard reveals an uncomfortable truth. Not every delay is preparation. Sometimes what appears to be a season of waiting is actually stagnation that requires correction rather than consolation. We must make a necessary correction. It is irresponsible to label every delay divine, necessary, or automatically beneficial. A delay becomes developmental only when something valuable is actually being developed through your response to it. Some stagnation is self-created. Procrastination has consequences. Inconsistent habits produce inconsistent results. Refusing feedback protects weakness. Neglected skill limits usefulness. Unmanaged emotion damages judgment. Weak planning wastes time. Avoiding small responsibility prevents trust from forming. Do not call inactivity a season when it is really a decision. At the same time, not everything is under your control. Other people make decisions you cannot command. Access may be limited. Institutions may contain barriers. Economic conditions affect opportunity. Timing can be unpredictable. Discipline increases your readiness, but it does not give you sovereignty over every outcome. Wisdom begins when you distinguish responsibility from control. Ask 3 questions. First, what is within my authority? Second, what evidence shows that I am using that authority well? Third, what outcome must I release because it is not mine to command? Now observe these distinctions carefully. Patience is not passivity. Patience continues responsible action without demanding an immediate result. Passivity stops acting and then gives the inactivity spiritual language. Preparation is not fear. Preparation moves toward tested service. Fear keeps adding qualifications, delaying the attempt, and waiting for a confidence that may never arrive before action. Perseverance is not stubbornness. Perseverance remains faithful to purpose while adjusting methods. Stubbornness protects a preferred method after evidence has shown that it is ineffective. So, what should you do when the scorecard reveals stagnation? Correct what can be corrected. Repair the habit. Seek wise counsel. Change the environment where change is possible. Improve the work. Make the request you have been avoiding. Create an ethical alternative when the usual door remains closed. And when an outcome truly lies beyond your authority, release it without surrendering your responsibility. Write this principle down. You cannot control every door, but you can manage the person who stands before it. Responsible action does not guarantee that a particular employer will select you, that a particular audience will recognize you, or that your preferred opportunity will arrive on your timetable. We must not make promises that life has not made. But responsible action does ensure that the season is not wasted. You can emerge clearer, stronger, more skilled, more disciplined, and more useful even before the external situation changes. You now possess the complete framework. The final movement is not more diagnosis, it is decision. A written decision, a spoken commitment, and an immediate first action. You can be aligned with purpose and still be early. But after receiving this framework, being early is no longer permission to remain confused, ashamed, or idle. Your season may explain your present responsibility, but it cannot excuse your refusal to act. Remember the sequence. Clarification names the assignment. Formation builds the person. Practice proves the ability. Stewardship establishes trust. Placement enlarges responsibility. Now write down the stage that best describes your present season. Do not choose the stage you admire. Choose the stage supported by evidence. What responsibility dominates your life now? What progress can you demonstrate? What temptation must you confront? Then complete this 5-part audit. Name one distraction you must remove. Name one capacity you must develop. Name one skill you must practice. Name one present responsibility you must manage better. And name one outcome you must surrender because it is not yours to control. Do not leave these as general intentions. Give each one a name. Give each one an action. Give each action a time. Now say this with conviction. I will not compare my season with another person's harvest. I will not demand visibility before developing capacity. I will not hide inside endless preparation. I will not despise small responsibility. I will not treat preparation as a claim upon God, people, or opportunity. I will honor the work that belongs to this season. Declaration must now become discipline. Choose one action you can begin within the next 24 hours. Make the call. Begin the lesson. Repair the schedule. Request the feedback. Complete the neglected work. Serve the person already within reach. Then choose one discipline you will repeat throughout this season. Not once. Not only while you feel inspired. Repeat it until your conduct provides evidence of change. May God give you clarity to recognize your responsibility, courage to receive correction, discipline to continue without applause, and humility to serve when opportunity expands. May your faith make you active, not passive, steady, not entitled, hopeful, not careless, because your development is not only about you. Prepared people strengthen families. Reliable people stabilize teams. Principled people improve institutions. Purposeful people serve communities. When your gift becomes disciplined, your purpose becomes dependable. So do not demand the fruit of placement while neglecting the work of preparation. Do not curse the foundation because it is hidden. Do not abandon the process because it is slow. Name your season. Accept its responsibility. Perform the work. Begin today. Honor the season and become ready for the weight your purpose requires.